Thursday's episode of Days of Our Lives doesn't hit you with explosions or shock twists. It does something far more unsettling. It slows everything down. After a week of kidnappings, hospital emergencies, and emotional breakdowns, Salem finally takes a breath. And that's exactly when the real danger begins. Stephanie Johnson and Alex Kyriakis should be breathing easier by now. The biothreat scare never escalated into a full disaster. Medical tests came back clean. No one was exposed. No physical harm was done. By all logical measures, this crisis should be over. But Steve Johnson refuses to treat it that way. As the three of them sit down together, Steve immediately challenges the idea that this was a one-time incident. His instincts won't let it rest. And for good reason. To Steve, nothing about that powder-filled envelope felt accidental. Not the method of delivery, not the timing, not the fact that Stephanie was the target. This wasn't careless behavior. It was calculated. Steve voices the question no one else wants to say out loud. Who wanted Stephanie scared enough to panic? Because fear wasn't a side effect. Fear was the objective. Whoever sent that envelope wasn't trying to poison anyone. They were probing boundaries, measuring reactions, testing how much disruption they could cause with a single move. Stephanie tries to ground the conversation. She focuses on the facts. No exposure, no injuries, no lasting damage. Alex wants to believe the same thing, hoping this was an isolated incident they can put behind them and move on from. But Steve has seen this pattern before. He's dealt with obsession. He's dealt with stalkers. He's dealt with people who escalate once they realize fear gives them power. And to Steve, this didn't feel like a finale. It felt like an opening act. Steve believes this was only the first move in a much longer game. And if he's right, Salem hasn't seen the last of this threat. Elsewhere in Salem, a much quieter storyline begins to unfold, but one that could prove just as dangerous in the long run. Jeremy Horton and Liam Saleko find themselves forming an unexpected bond. At first glance, it seems harmless, even healthy. Two young men who feel overlooked, misunderstood, disconnected from a town that keeps moving forward without them. They talk. They listen. For the first time in a long while, they feel seen. And that's exactly why this connection should make viewers uneasy. Days of Our Lives rarely introduces new friendships without purpose. What matters here isn't simply that Jeremy and Liam connect. It's what they connect over. Frustration, resentment, a shared belief that they've been pushed aside and ignored. Instead of challenging each other's darker thoughts, they validate them. Instead of grounding each other in reality, they echo each other's grievances. Right now, the bond feels supportive. It even feels comforting. But Thursday's episode makes one thing clear. This is a beginning, not a resolution. And beginnings like this don't reveal their consequences immediately. They grow quietly, beneath the surface, feeding on shared resentment until one day they can no longer be ignored. One of the most emotionally devastating moments of Thursday's episode belongs to Thomas DeMera. Jennifer Horton is forced into a situation no adult ever wants to face, telling a child the truth when that truth offers no comfort. Chad still hasn't been found. For Thomas, the words land with unbearable weight. This isn't just fear for his father's safety, it's guilt. A deep, personal guilt that settles in immediately. Thomas has already been struggling with complicated emotions toward Chad. Moments of anger, confusion, and frustration he doesn't fully understand or know how to express. Now, faced with his father's disappearance, his mind turns inward in a way that is dangerously common for children. What if this is my fault? What if something I said, something I felt, made this happen? Children don't process trauma through logic or distance. They personalize it. They search for cause and effect, and too often, they find that cause within themselves. Jennifer does everything she can to stop that spiral. She reassures Thomas again and again that none of this is his fault, that adults are working tirelessly to bring Chad home, that feelings, even angry ones, don't make bad things happen. But guilt doesn't disappear simply because it's challenged. Once it takes root in a child's mind, it lingers. And that's what makes this moment so important. Thomas's pain doesn't end when the scene cuts away. It becomes part of the long-term emotional fallout of the DiMera crisis, shaping how he sees himself, his family, and his sense of responsibility moving forward. Across town, Paulina Price stands beside Abe Carver during one of the most exhausting moments of his life. Abe isn't simply tired. He's emotionally depleted. The fear surrounding Theo's condition, the uncertainty of what comes next, and the endless waiting have stripped him of any sense of control. There is a particular kind of pain that comes with being unable to protect someone you love, and Abe feels that powerlessness deeply. Paulina recognizes it immediately. She doesn't try to fix the situation or rush Abe through his fear. She doesn't offer false optimism or easy reassurances that everything will be fine. Instead, she offers presence. She stays with him. She listens. She allows Abe to sit in his fear without judgment. And gently, she reminds him of something he's spent his life embodying, but rarely practicing for himself. That strength doesn't always mean carrying the burden alone. Sometimes, survival means allowing someone else to help hold it. This is a quiet scene, but it carries enormous emotional weight. Because Abe is being changed by this experience. The waiting, the fear, and the realization of how fragile life truly is are reshaping how he sees the world and how he will move through it once this crisis passes. And in the days ahead, Paulina's support won't just comfort Abe. It will ground him. The most haunting moments of Thursday's episode belong to Theo Carver and Chad DiMera. Not because of what happens around them, but because of what happens inside them. After captivity, injury, and brushes with death, they're forced to confront a truth neither of them can soften or escape. They almost didn't survive. For Theo, this realization is especially jarring. Still shaken by his collapse and head injury, Theo begins to understand something he's never truly faced before: how fragile life actually is. The sense of invincibility that often comes with youth quietly disappears, replaced by an awareness that everything can change in a single moment. For the first time, survival doesn't feel guaranteed. For Chad, the impact cuts even deeper. Chad has already lived with loss. He's buried loved ones. He's rebuilt his life after devastation. And yet, this experience forces him to confront an even more terrifying thought: that there may not always be time to heal, to fix things, or to say goodbye. Their conversation isn't dramatic. There are no raised voices, no emotional speeches, no grand revelations, just honesty. And that honesty is unsettling. Because when someone truly faces their own mortality, they don't return to the person they were before. Priorities shift quietly. What once felt urgent suddenly feels trivial. Choices begin to carry more weight because the cost of every decision becomes clearer. Theo and Chad will move forward changed, carrying new fears, sharper awareness, and a deeper understanding of how easily everything can be taken away. This moment isn't closure. It's transformation. Thursday, December 18th, isn't about action. It's about aftermath. It's about fear slowly hardening into resolve, trauma turning inward, demanding reflection, and survival becoming the catalyst for change. The danger in Salem hasn't disappeared. It has simply evolved. And the choices made in this quieter episode, the silences, the realizations, the emotional lines quietly crossed, will echo loudly in the days ahead. Because in days of our lives, the calm is never the end. It's the warning.